This is That Guy Jig Sports Podcast. I am him, JIG. Subscribe, rate, and review Amazon, Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcast. Check us out. We also have the Instagram at That Guy Jig. Now, the off-season for the NFL continues to give us all types of whirlwind. The mystery box of the NFL keeps throwing out different shit. Now we have so many running backs available that no team next year that is in contention should have any type of excuse for not having a run game. I see the number 2 rusher overall in terms of rushing yards. The number 2, the number 5, 16, 8. So that's 3 of the top 10. There's 30% of the top 10 are free agents when it comes to rushing in the NFL. Derrick Henry, DeAndre Swift, and Joe Mixon, maybe. Joe Mixon was reportedly going to be on the move, and this is what's been coming down from the combine. See, these teams go to these combines and they see these players perform. They see these 40 times, these shuttle runs, these catches, these quarterbacks dropping in balls and buckets. They get excited. They start thinking big time. They start thinking short term, not long term. And then you get rumors like Joe Mixon being on the move. You get rumors like Aaron Jones might be on the move. Because teams are looking at the running back position just a little bit different. They're looking at them a little bit different. If you can't catch and run, if you aren't Christian McCaffrey, Alvin Kamara, Rachaad White, these are 3 guys right now that are showing you the new prototype. Don't forget about Jahmyr Gibbs. Now, Jahmyr Gibbs is in that group too. But what I'm telling you is there is a new hybrid look of running back in the NFL. If you cannot catch and run, if you cannot do both and stay healthy, you are not a true key point of the team anymore. Because running backs, I hate to say it, are a dime a dozen if you have a good offensive line. If you can produce a good front 5, a good offensive line, that's some good hog mollies, some straight plow dozers, just straight road grading. Philadelphia Eagles offensive line, Chiefs offensive line. When you got these type of Dallas Cowboys, we got these type of offensive lines. It doesn't matter who's behind them. It doesn't matter who's behind them. As long as you can read a hole, which every running back in the NFL should be able to do. We are talking about the 1% of all football players here. The best of the best, sir, with honors. So I do believe that everyone can read a hole. I know Najee Harris sometimes looks confused, but I promise you folks, he can read a hole. So my point is, as long as you have a decent and solid offensive line, you should be able to run the football in the NFL. So why would I pay someone all this money? As you clearly see, receivers are not, you're not losing receivers. Mike Evans is staying. Mike Evans got his back. If you are a receiver that is producing, they are not letting you walk. T. Higgins, franchise tagged. Michael Pittman Jr., franchise tagged. And now with Mike Evans re-signing, those are 3 of the big name free agent wide receivers off the books. And that's why the NFL off seasons are kind of mid. You might get a couple big moves here and there, but overall it's not going to be, just explosions. It's going to be a couple, it's just going to be a couple, stones thrown in the pond making little ripples. We're not throwing boulders yet. Now, I'm not saying there won't be a boulder dropped in the pond and just a big splash, but what I'm saying for the most part, it's just been a bunch of skipping rocks and we're just making ripples. So when it comes to the running back position, you see that running backs are being let go. They are being able to test the market. They are letting them see what they can do because they believe as long as I have a solid O-line and I have draft picks, I can replace Joe Mixon. I can replace Saquon Barkley. I can replace Aaron Jones. These are guys that can get replaced. Remember, Gus Edwards was number 5 in the NFL in rushing touchdowns. The guy got into the paint. He put points on the board. Devin Singletary coming off one of his best years in the NFL. He's going to make some people happy. Now, Tony Pollard and Austin Eckler, here are 2 guys. These guys need to figure it out. When it was time to put up or shut up, when it was time to either get the bag or unionize. These guys didn't either. Now, Tony Pollard did better than Austin Eckler, and I know Austin Eckler is dealing with injuries, but that's my point. What do I always say? Availability is the best ability. When we're talking about the best of the best, sir, with honors, I need the best of the best, sir, with honors that's going to show up. That's coming to work every day, clocking in, putting on his hard hat, and not complaining. He's not sitting over there at the table reading the blueprints 100 times. He sees it one time, he gets his assignment, and he goes. That's what we are looking for at the running back position. So when you look at Jahmyr Gibbs, Alvin Kamara, Christian McCaffrey, and Alvin Kamara, these are guys in the hybrid role. There will always be a place for these type of running backs because they can do both. You don't have to worry about handing him the ball. You can put him in the slot. He can draw defenses to him in the slot. And Saquon's a guy that can do that. Saquon's a guy that can catch the ball at the backfield. So he's going to make some people happy. That's why I would like to see Saquon in Arizona. I would like to see Saquon in Arizona. I would like to see Arizona go ahead and get Marvin Harrison Jr., get Saquon, maybe get another running back, draft somebody else. But my whole point is build this team back up and make it a contender. In that division, outside the 49ers, you can catch the Rams. You need a couple good drafts, but you got to start signing free agents as well. And you can catch the Rams because Kyler Murray has more years available to him than Matthew Stafford. So if you make this team a contender, you get them back on track, you bring in a Saquon, you see what you can do with James Conner. Now you have them both. That's a good team. That's a good deal. That's a 1-2 punch. You got Saquon coming out the backfield. You got James Conner running it down people's throat for 4 quarters. He's going to break a big one eventually. He's getting in the paint. At that point, James Conner becomes Gus Edwards. He becomes David Montgomery. He becomes Jamal Williams. He becomes a goal line back. He becomes the guy that gets into the paint. That's all his job is to do while he is here, is to get into the paint. So the running back free agent room is a good room. I mean, you pick in there and you get what you want. If I'm the Eagles, I'm looking at, Derrick Henry. You maybe bring back DeAndre Swift, but if you can get Derrick Henry, why not? Saquon Barkley, why not? You got to bring in some people for the low that can help this team now. Especially if you're the Eagles, because you don't, I hate to tell fans this, but they don't, the whole window isn't as open as it used to be. At this point, we got to start producing playoff wins. We got to start producing wins, championships. You got A.J. Brown. You got Devontae Smith. You got to pay Devontae Smith eventually. So something's going to have to give. Win championships, people take pay cuts. You don't win championships, no one's taking a pay cut to be on the second best team. Sorry. Give me my check in full. What are we talking about? Moving on. Russell Wilson and the Denver Broncos saga is finally over. Russell Wilson and the Denver Broncos have finally broken up. Listen, this is probably the best news I have heard in the past 30 days. In the past 30 days, this is probably the best news that I've heard. I am so glad Russell Wilson is free. I'm not here to tell you that Russell Wilson is the greatest quarterback of all time, or Russell Wilson is what was even good in Denver. But what I will not sit here and do is act like everything was on him. Now, was that a good trade? No. I will never say that was a good trade. But I want to make sure people understand that we need to separate Russell Wilson and the trade. Russell Wilson's performance has nothing to do with the trade. Now, I understand Russell Wilson's performance gets brought up because of the trade. But the trade just amplifies how bad the Broncos organization has been over the past 9 seasons. Take away that fun time that when Peyton Manning was here, the Broncos have not been doing anything. And post Peyton Manning, this has been one of the worst franchises in the NFL. And that trade just amplifies it even more. There was no reports of Russell Wilson being a good quarterback. There were no reports of Russell Wilson finding his groove again. The only reports coming out of Seattle was that Russell Wilson was washed. He was done. Pete Carroll and him were at odds. He wanted a trade. There was never once. The man had to get up and tell everybody, I'm still good. I'm still good. I can still play. When you have to get up and tell someone that I'm still good, you lost it, my guy. And this is the guy you gave up 2 first-round picks for. But before we get there, why did we get there in the first place? Why did we get to Russell Wilson in the first place? Because the Broncos management, they went chasing waterfalls. They went chasing after fucking psycho Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers pulled the gotcha, stayed in Green Bay for 1 more year. They hired his offensive coordinator, Nathaniel Hackett, who was a terrible head coach. The guy was, I've never heard of a head coach hiring more consultants than the 1 season, and not even a full season, the 1 season he was here in Denver. I've never heard of teams bringing in consultants for the uses of timeouts and clock management and play calling. So at this point, what is he doing? If somebody's calling his timeouts, calling his plays, telling him, how we should play the game. You have all these consultants, all these guys chiming in. What are you doing as the head coach? But yet this is the same team that Russell Wilson was supposed to lead out the ashes. The best wide receiver on this team is Courtland Sutton. That's a problem. Courtland Sutton is a number 2, maybe a number 3 on any contending team right now. Would the Chiefs love to have Courtland Sutton? Sure. They would love to have him. Is Courtland Sutton better than Rashee Rice? No. When we're looking at the 49ers, is Courtland Sutton better than any of those 2 receivers? Brandon Ayuk, Debo? No, he is not. But this is what Russell Wilson was supposed to deliver into gold. Russell Wilson, I said this when he got traded. Russell Wilson is going from Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf to Courtland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy. If you don't understand what I'm saying, then this conversation is not for you. If you don't get what I'm saying, this conversation is genuinely not for you. You're the football fan that just likes it with over a pack of nuts with the bros. I'm talking about the guy that's balls deep in it. I'm talking about the guy that can't wait for the first season, for the first game to kick off next season already. I'm talking about the real fans out here, folks. This is what I'm telling you. He went from DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett to Courtland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy. And keep in mind, Jerry Jeudy is already considered a bust. First round pick has not lived up to it. I mean, he went a whole season without a touchdown, folks. Your one job as a wide receiver is to get into the paint. You understand what I'm telling you? Your one job is to get to the paint. And he did not do that. So this is the team that I'm talking about. I'm painting the picture here. We're talking about a Denver Broncos team who over the last 8 seasons has had 1 9-win season. They've had 1 9-win season. This team has been ran like complete shit. So I don't believe that it's fair to wrap up that shit in which is the Denver Broncos organization and how it's been ran the last 8 seasons. I don't think it's fair to ball that up, okay, and then set that underneath Russell Wilson's chair. Like, oh, it was Russ. Look at what Russ did. It's like, yeah, Russ was shitty while he was here. There's no there's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it. But like I say, you bring in a guy who had no positive reviews. You bring in a guy who everybody said they hated this guy. He's the reason for this. He's the reason for that. And then he gets here, he acts the way that you guys know that he acts, and you act like that's a problem? You knew about his own offices, his personal trainers, and all that crap. And the thing about the personal trainer is every elite quarterback has one. All the quarterbacks have one. All the veteran quarterbacks have their own personal training. The Broncos knew about this. You can sit there and try to put the stink in the odor on Russell Wilson all you want. But the truth of the matter is the Denver Broncos have been a dog shit organization for the last 8 seasons. So I hope Russell Wilson gets out there, and I hope he finds himself a good team. It's said that he's going to talk to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I hope so. I cannot believe that they said that they believe in Kenny Pickett. But hey, some people don't like to eat crow. I understand it. But if you smoke it, it's okay. But the Steelers are looking into bringing in Russell Wilson, and I like this idea. I like the idea of Russell Wilson going to a team that's, they have weapons. They have some young weapons. They have a solid run game. They just need to score some points. That's been the problem with Pittsburgh for the last 3 seasons. They've not been able to score points. In that division in particular, the AFC North, where you have the Baltimore Ravens, the Bengals, the Browns, and you have the Pittsburgh Steelers, you have to be able to score points. Those 3 teams right there score points. One of them have been in the Super Bowl. The Ravens have been to a couple of conference championships. The Browns are finally putting it together, it looks like. They had some injuries last year. Hopefully Nick Chubb comes back. Look for the Browns to add some depth at running back. But if you bring in a Russell Wilson to a team like the Pittsburgh Steelers, you're going to be able to put up 24 points a game. You're going to be able to score some points with that offense. With that offense in particular, the weapons they have, because the weapons they have in Pittsburgh are better than the weapons they have in Denver. There's a reason why they're trying to upgrade everything in Denver. So I think this move for Russell Wilson is going to be very, very good. I would like to see him in Pittsburgh. I don't want to see him go to a team where he's just going to, maybe compete. It's either Pittsburgh or the Saints for me. And the reason for the Saints is, like I said, you want to go somewhere where you can compete. They have a solid defense. They have a solid young offense, some good weapons. They got Alvin Kamara. You can go down there in New Orleans and you win, beat out Derek Carr. Shouldn't be too hard. You should be able to beat out Derek Carr, win that starting job, and then you just got to maintain and take the Saints to the playoffs. So for me, for Russell Wilson, I would like to see him in the Saints uniform or the Steelers. Those are my two squads for him. I'm just very happy that he's out in Denver, because it's getting to the point where you could tell neither one of them wanted to be here. It's that relationship where you just gotta finally tell them, hey, it's all right, bro. Just never go back. Just never go back. So the off season is still going. It's still coming. It's still coming. The splashes, the ripples. They're not going to stop until after the draft. And it's still even then. And when it comes to these running backs that are free agents, I want you to hear it here first. Don't be surprised if it takes some teams a little longer to sign some of these guys. Now, there's a couple of them that'll probably be, ate up like a hotcakes. Get up out of here. They'll get them quick. But then there's going to be some where you're going to wait until training camp around that time to bring them in. You want to see if what you got can compete and can get it going. But what I need you to do is hit that subscribe button. This is That Guy Jig Sports Podcast, and I am him, J.I.G. Thanks for listening. Tell a friend to tell a friend. We got one more. It's going to be the college sports segment. We're talking college football, and then, once again, if you get on the Instagram at That Guy Jig, that's where we put all our college basketball bets. It's been good. It's been fun. It's been good fun. And once again, this is That Guy Jig Sports Podcast, and I am him, J.I.G. Peace.